Welcome to iTalk, the programme on Euronews where you get to ask the questions to Europe's leading decision makers. My name is Alex and I'm here to make sure that you get the answers. Today your questions are for Gilles de Kerchove, the European Union Counter-Terrorism Coordinator. Mr de Kerchove, thank you for being on iTalk. It's already difficult for the European Union, so many countries, to agree on things like pollution, on frontiers. Do we seriously have a counter-terrorism policy?
We have, indeed. And in 2005, the heads of state and government adopted a strategy which is pretty comprehensive.
And which concerns what? Must countries reveal secrets? I mean, this is very sensitive material for each country.
Let me first make it clear that member states remain the prime responsible for internal security, and the European Union is there to support their effort and create frameworks, adopt legislation, earmark money, and especially work with third countries. So we try to design new tools, new instruments like the European arrest warrant, or to foster exchange of information between the member states.
How much money?
A lot, just for security related to research. 1.4 billion euro have been earmarked, which is not irrelevant.
We have a first question from Elena, who is Russian.
First of all, I think of terrorism as an evil, but I'm not sure that you can win this battle by killing terrorists. It's better to negotiate with them because it makes them more human, and the more kindness there is in the world, the fewer terrorists we'll have. Thank you.
Mr de Kerchove, should we be kinder with terrorists? So are we actually talking to terrorists? You're not going to tell me, but are we?
We are, in history, we have always been engaged at some stage in a process of reconciliation to bring them inside the mainstream. But the question refers to the need to balance repression with prevention, and that's equally important, if not more important. And we are working a lot on that, both in Europe and in the Muslim world.
But are terrorists willing to talk to us? I mean, they're not very willing to listen to what we have to say.
In a way, we have many instruments aimed at putting pressure, like freezing their asset, or trying to find them everywhere and try to convict them in court. But in the end of a process, we try to create the condition conducive to a sort of change in their behavior.
Elias, who is Spanish, has the second question.
Hello, my name's Elias, and I would like to know if what they said about bin Laden is true, because there are no photos to prove it and account for it.
Did we have any say? Did the Americans ask us, the European Union, our advice about whether they should publish those photographs?
I think it was wise not to publish, as President Obama decided, and I think rightly. There is no doubt on the death of bin Laden. It has been confirmed by his DNA.
But there's doubt about the way in which it was done. Wouldn't that have put the matter more on the table if we'd have seen the photographs?
But as I said, I think it was wise not to publish the photo because he has been seriously injured when the action took place, and therefore it would just have increased a bit these iconic dimensions. So I think it was wise not to do so. But no doubt at all, he was Osama bin Laden. It has been confirmed by his wife, by his daughter, and by his DNA.
Another question from Christian.
I find that a lot is made of terrorism. That doesn't mean that I'm against that personally, but I almost want to say who benefits from that.
It's the usual question of the wind of publicity. Do we talk about terrorism too much and encourage it by giving terrorists a lot of exposure?
No, I don't think so. I think the right question is to ask whether we have developed the right response and we remained balanced in an approach. We should not develop the security apparatus in a way. We have to remain balanced and keep a balance between freedom and security. That is a major issue. But raising the problem, I think, is part of our communication strategy. What we want, the message we want to convey these days, especially after the Arab Spring, is that the narrative of Al-Qaeda had no support whatsoever in the population of these countries.
Let's have a question from Paulo, who's Portuguese.
Meu nome é Paulo e eu gostaria de saber.
Hi, my name's Paulo, and I'd like to know if Europe can cope with the effects of terrorism.
Very general question, but it's a serious one. We're all afraid of terrorism. Are we ready to face if there's a huge terrorist threat?
We are, I think. As I've said, it's member states' first primary responsibility to face terrorism. But with what we have decided these last 10 years, adopted, I think we're in a much better position, not only to face, but to prevent. And if we fail to prevent, to respond and minimize the consequences of terrorist attacks. So my answer is definitively yes.
Isn't the problem that the nature of terrorism changes? I mean, you don't know what's going to happen next. Is it a nuclear threat? Is it bombs? Or is it destroying things like
and that's why we have
Towers?
to start preparing for the new threat. We've started working on a CBRN terrorism, that means chemical, biological, nuclear and radiological threat, but as well as cyber terrorism, cyber security. And we've started working on that very seriously.
Let's have a question from London and from Joe.
Hello, my name is Joe from London. The question I'd like to ask you is, should Turkey gain full accession to the European Union, would you expect to see, with the large influx of migration and immigration, a rise in terrorist activities within EU borders?
Obviously, the question of border controls and so forth is becoming very sensitive.
Well, on the accession of Turkey, I won't give my personal opinion. A decision has been taken to start the process of accession, and Turkey is working on it, and it's a process which is advancing. On migration, I think we have to be extremely cautious not to mix up migration and terrorism. In the people trying to enter the European Union, you have both genuine asylum seekers. These people are in need of protection, and we have to protect them. You have illegal people seeking, finding a job and a better life. These are not terrorists. Indeed, you may have some, a very small number, possibly, and that's why we are designing specific tools to detect them. And within Schengen...
How can we detect them? What kind of specific tools?
One discussion which is ongoing, which is quite sensitive, is, for instance, to allow the police to get access to some database for the handling of asylum requests. That's, for instance, one way to screen asylum applicants against and screen them against our database on terrorists and criminals.
OK, let's have one last question from Stephanie.
Hi, my name is Stephanie, and I'm just wondering what governments are doing to ensure that we'll be safe when we're traveling in big cities and so that we won't be the victims of terrorist attacks.
I think what Stephanie means is Europeans going abroad. When we leave Europe, as Europeans, are we targets?
We are targets, that's true, and that's why ministries of foreign affairs are providing advice on where to go and where not to go, and when to be extremely vigilant. So that's one. We have to be wise in the selection of our place for holidays. But we are working with third states as well to help them to beef up their response. So there is always a risk. We have to accept that.
One other question, Gilles de Kerchove. Are we going to get rid of these measures at airports, which often seem to be illusory measures of safety against terrorism?
Illusory, I would not say. All
the stuff with taking off belts and taking off shoes and so forth.
I think we are improving. That's why the 1.4 billion euro for security-related research is important, because we try to improve technologies and make them more friendly and privacy-friendly. And therefore, even what was criticized, body scanners, we call them security scanners, in a way can help and smooth. Or the program, like what is called the Trusted Traveler program, by which you, and that's criticized as well, you release more information about you. You can go quicker and skip the line and go through and try to reach the launch as soon as possible.
Gilles de Kerchove, thank you very much indeed. That was I've Talk. If you want to know who will be our next guest and ask your questions, you can go to our site on euronews.net/I-talk. See you next time here from the European Parliament in Brussels.